Hi everyone, and welcome to this tutorial about how My360 works. So when you first sign into My360, you will see the dashboard. In the dashboard you have a tutorial video, which means that that's this video that you're reading now. And there's a news and notification tab where you can see all the latest news from My360, any upgrades that we did to the platform, any things that you should know. So make sure that you read the latest news. If there's anything new there, it will definitely be in there. The next thing what you're going to do is you're going to go to config and settings. In this area, you will find your personal details. Make sure that you complete every field that's in there because it has to do with the platform. So we might have already completed some of this for you, but you just have to make sure that it's all correct and that everything is completed. Your address, for example, will be used on portals. If we advertise your properties in other areas, then that's where where these are going to be used. Your currency is in euros, so that we know, or in whatever currency that you have, of course, for your country. Your language, you can set for any language that you would like. After that, you have to click what languages you want to be available in your platform. So in this case, we've got Spanish and English. And you're supposed to complete these details in the languages. So some business details, make sure that it looks nice about what your business is about. All this information will be used on third-party portals or social media, so make sure that it's all correct. After that, also complete here the details of all your social media channels. All this is really important for you because we will publish either your business or your properties or information onto different channels, which gives you more exposure, which is great for you. And lastly, you need to upload your default logo. Now make sure that your default logo is a PNG with a transparent background so that it looks nice on any background. After you've done that, you go to VTs, which is the default settings for all your virtual tours. This is where you can choose your hotspot images, if you the images to go from one image to the next. So what kind of image would you like to use? Some of these you can't see anything because they're white, but if you hover over them you can see what they're like. So choose your default hotspot image, then activate or deactivate the auto reverse hotspot. This means that if you place a hotspot in an image, automatically it creates on the next image a return arrow or a return hotspot. This will save you a lot of time, especially if you have large tours to do. So make sure that you switch this on. Hotspot scale, how big do you want this hotspot to be? So it can be large or small or bigger. So it's a case of trial and error. So if you have built a tour, you find that your hotspots are a little bit too small or too large, you can change it here and it will change it for all the tours that you've built. What kind of color would you like to give your tour? So usually you would use here a color that reflects your logo or your website or what you would like. Do you want to hide the thumbnails? I would leave that off, but it's up to you if you say you want to leave them on. We'll get to that later in this tutorial, what thumbnails actually are. Do you want to give all your tours a Little Planet intro? So that means that the tour starts almost from the sky and moves into your picture like a little planet. Do you want to give your tour a shadow effect or not? So all of these three are at the moment for these tours are switched off, but you can switch them on and then all your tours will have that effect. Do you want to, this is auto rotate, your tour will start auto rotating. Do you want them to auto rotate to the right or to the left? And how quick do you want them to go? So if you leave it on 0, it will not auto rotate. If you leave it on say 4 or 3, it will auto rotate, in this case, to the right. How long does it have to wait before the auto rotation starts? Well, in this case, we set 5 seconds, but you can say whatever you'd like here. The location of the info panel, either at the left or on the right-hand side. I'll show you where that is in a minute. And transition type, how would you like to move from one image to the next? Do you want to have a slow zoom blend, fast zoom blend? Do you want to just blend it or no blend at all? Lastly, if you put here your email address, then you will activate the contact form on all of your tours. So if you don't put an email address here, you won't be able to put a contact form on your tour. So make sure that you put an email address here where you can receive the leads that come from these tours and switch on your contact form. Then the other thing that is important is your walkthrough player logo and individual iframe logo. So let me just quickly show you where these logos are located. So if you're inside your first profile, you have uploaded all your images. The single images also have an iframe. So that's these ones here, the spheres. So once the image loads, you can see that there will be a logo in the corner and there's going to be a Nadir logo here. As you can see, here's a logo there and here's a logo on the bottom. But you will also have your virtual tours. So these are your actual virtual tours, the ones that you've created. The first one you saw is just a single image. It's not a virtual tour, but you might just want to send single images to your clients or show only one image. That's why we've got two different ones. These are your virtual tours. And this particular virtual tour is starting with the video, so we're just going to skip that. And you can see here is a logo and also there's the Nadir logo. So in your settings for your virtual tours, you have the walkthrough player logo, which is your build virtual tour. And then you have the individual iframe logo, which is the single images. So you could make these different from one another, just in case you wanted to show a different logo or you don't want to have any logo at all on the individual images. That's up to you. You could say where you would like to have the logo, and then you want to have your Nadir logo here. The Nadir logo is usually your own logo, but a little bit larger. I would say 200 by 200 is a good size, but it's up to you. Again, it's you have to play with it a little bit. If your logo hasn't got a transparent background, we suggest that you put a circle behind it so that it's a nice round logo. But in this case, as you can see here, we've just done the transparent logo to cover up the tripod. So now we go back to, this is all your default settings. Once you've set all this up, you say save default, so that all your tours will now have all these settings. If you have made tours before with different settings, this will override those settings. So that tour will also have these default settings, but inside the tour, you can then switch it back to how it was, and I'll show you that in a moment. Then in settings, you can, if this is activated for you, if it's not, you can apply for it, which is an API key, which will make sure that all your tours are automatically shown on your website or at a feed. So if you have this activated, you could name your feed here so that you know which one of these feeds have certain images. We'll get back to that later as well. Back to details for one quick second. In details, you'll have different destinations. So you set this default settings for all of the destinations that you have. But for example, if you have an office in Malaga and that's where you would like a different telephone number, you can just go to that office here and change the telephone number here and save Malaga. And that means that you can have a different telephone number for different offices or different destinations. If you don't need that, then you can just leave it as it is, and then every destination will have the same contact details. If you're missing a destination here, just let us know and we will add it for you. So that's part one of how to create your account. Right, once you've created your default settings and your VT settings, we are now going to have a look at photographers. So once you have first received your account, you will have one photographer already created inside your account, but you might want to create more than one photographer. You might want to create a couple more. So you can add new photographers here. And adding a new photographer, you just add their name, their first name, last name, and their email address, and give them a password. And then you give them what destinations are they working for. So if you have more than one office, you could say, okay, well, I'm going to give the office in Malaga to one person and the office in Marbella to another person. So each has their own account. Additionally, you could make this person a manager of different photographers. So for example, you have one manager who looks after Cabo Pino, Alveria, and Fuengirola. You would give this person those three destinations and make them a manager of that destination. If you then have one photographer that only works in Fuengirola, which is assigned to this manager, then this manager can see everything that they've done. Once you've created this new photographer, you go into their profile and you can say edit photographer. This is where you can edit his details, their address, their phone number, mobile, etc. And this is where you can change their password. If you change your password, you have to click the button change after you've changed it and then save to make sure that the change takes effect. Give them a manager's role or not, and tell them if they're allowed to download the images from the system, because sometimes you just want them to upload and not to download anything, so you can give or take away that preference. Then do you want to assign this person to a different manager, and what kind of destinations you can add and edit the destinations here. And then lastly, you have to put this person on active. By default, this person is not active, so you have to always go in and make sure that he's active. Once you're done, you press save, and then when you click back on photographers, you can see all your photographers here and edit them and make sure you can see the types here. So this person is a photographer manager, and he's a photographer, and these are just photographers. Lastly, we go to maps. The map is where you will find a map of all the virtual tours that you have created. You could also create a map by photographer, so each photographer has their own map. And lastly, you could embed this map. You could embed the single sphere, so the single images, or you could say, I want to embed a map with all the virtual tours that I've created. Because sometimes you might have a profile that has images in it with single images, but doesn't have a virtual tour. So then this map would be obsolete. You would have to take the spheres map. So the spheres map's got all the pictures, the single images of all your clients. And you can see here, when you click on one of them, that you can see the single images, and you can just click through and see the next one. So you can close this, and if you wanted to, you can embed this map. Finally, we are going to go to create a new property. So under overview, which is also found here, overview, is where you find all the virtual tours that you have created. So you have the ID of the virtual tour, the internal code, the name of the virtual tour which you create, the photographer who took the virtual tour, what destination they were in, are they active, or are they deleted, are they hidden, when was it created, the publish date, the publish here, it says if it's published on the real estate portal or if it's not. Is it included in any of your feeds? How many spheres in total are there? Is there a virtual tour created? And is this added to the map displaying on your map that you can embed? So these are the details that you can find. So what we do now is we're going to add a new property, and we name it test property 1. And we are choosing the destination where this property is located, and then we have to choose one of the photographers. So if this is you, then this is your name, or you assign it to a different photographer and you press save. Right, so now you're in the panel where you create your new property. First of all and foremost, we're going to add some spheres to this property, and we're going to choose some files of our desktop, and I'm going to choose this one here. There's 5 spheres here, so I choose all 5 of them and I open them. Now I can see here is all the files that I want. Is these the ones that I want? Yes, so I click upload all. You can also cancel all or remove them all. And then you wait. You do not navigate away from this page until all these boxes are ticked. Okay, so all your images are now uploaded. And when we click on view spheres, we can see that there are a total of 4 spheres in the system queue. So we're just going to have to wait until they're processing. This one is now processed. You can see that there a little red cog will start rotating. That means that it's processing, like you can see right here. And once it's finished, it will show as an image, and it will say a green tick saying processed. So you're going to have to wait until all these spheres have been processed. Sometimes these spheres in queue might say that there might be 10 or 15 images in the queue, or sometimes it might say that there's 50 images in the queue. If you see that it's taking a really long time, simply get onto the chat box, write your name and your email, start a chat and talk to us and say, hey, I'm waiting a long time here. Can you fix it? Because we can give you priority to the queue if we see that there's somebody before you who's uploaded a lot of images. This doesn't happen very often, but if it does happen, you should know that you can always give us a call. So now we're just going to wait until all the images have processed. In the meanwhile, what we can do is make sure that we've completed all the details of this property. So we're going to go to details, and in here we're going to put a reference code, for example, the reference code of this property or whatever you would like to give to it. Who is the owner of the property, if that's what you wanted to complete. Any contact details. You don't have to complete this, but it's maybe nice for your own internal administration. If you have sold this property and you don't want to see it anymore, you can delete it right here. When it's deleted, it doesn't count towards your virtual tour count. If you hide it, it will still count towards your virtual tour count. So if you just don't want to see this anymore, just press delete it. Once you delete the property, it will be saved by us for the next 30 days, and we can recall it again if that's what you wanted to do. You tick delete, make sure that it's deleted, and then press save if that's what you wanted to do. We're not doing that now, but you could. Location info is where if you were to put a street name here, so let's just say, we say this is in Marbella, and we press search, then the map will find that area, and you can drag the arrow to where the property is, or you could say, no, I'm just going to leave it here. Don't want to give the exact directions. Again, this is optional. You don't have to complete this, but it's nice if you have all the details of the property. Then you have the property portal. So property portal is where all the properties can be published for free on my360rea.com, is where all the properties are published for free. What we need from you is the title of the property, a short description. What type of property is it? Give it a price, how many bedrooms, bathrooms, is it for sale, for rent, the size of the property. And of course, this is already taken from your details page. And if you have completed here in the location info the address, you could just say use the GPS from the location info. Then you say, yes, I want to publish it, but you can only publish it if you actually created some virtual tours, which we haven't done yet. So we're going to come back to this later. External feeds means if you have an external feed and you know what the property reference is, this is to do with the API we talked about earlier, then you put the property reference in here and you say active, hidden, or deleted, and you save it. So then automatically this property virtual tour will show on your website or on your portal. Docs and notes means you can leave some personal notes on this that nobody else sees. It's only for internal use only. So now you can see that all the spheres have been uploaded. If you hover over the thumbnails, you can actually see a larger image of these spheres so that you know what these spheres are. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to rename these spheres. So we know that this is the living room, so we're going to edit the image and say living room. And the next one is also the living room, so we're going to say living room 2. This is the dining room. This is the kitchen. And this is the garden. Now, if you don't do this, then you will find that your virtual tours will not have a label on them. I'll show you here. This is where that word goes. So if you don't put the name there in here, it will just show a number. So make sure that you name the images correctly. Then we go to virtual tours. And as you see, there's nothing here just yet. So we're going to add a new tour. And we're going to name this tour. So we're going to say test tour 1. And we save it. And this will open in a new window where the virtual tour editor will start. Right, so at first you can say, okay, well, I'm going to watch a tutorial on how to build this tour, or I already know what I'm doing and I'm going to go ahead and make a new tour. So that's what we just did. And we're going to select all the images. You can also say unselect all the images, or you could just choose 3 images, whatever you'd like to do. But in this case, we're going to select all the images. And we're going to select a start scene, the scene that you want to start with. So we're going to start in the garden. Then we go to settings. So if you have completed in the beginning your virtual tour default settings, I'll show you where that was again, this one. Then if you go to your virtual tour editor, you don't have to do anything with the settings apart from give your tour a label, a title, and some text. If you say, well, actually, I want to override the default settings, you tick this box and all of a sudden, these are the same settings that we've completed before. So you can now say, oh, actually, I don't want the tour color to be orange. I want it to be pink or whichever color you would like. So you can override the default settings. These have the same settings as what you've completed before. Then what is important here as well is that you could say, actually, this contact form, I want that it doesn't go to my email, but also to the client's email. So you can add multiple at email.com. So you can add multiple email addresses for the contact form here. Always make sure that you separate them by a comma. So that's a little trick for you. Right now we're going to use the default settings, so I'm going to leave this off. We've completed this text and information for the virtual tour. If you have a logo in your tour and you want that logo to go to your website, you can put your website URL here. And if you want your tour to start with a video intro, you can do that here. There's a tutorial on how this works inside the tour, so I'm not going to explain this right now, but you can look at that later. And then call to action means how many clicks does a user have, can a user do within this tour before they have to leave you their contact details. If you leave it on 0, it won't do anything. But if you say, okay, I want them to do a maximum of 3 clicks and then they have to give me their email address, you could limit the tour to 3 clicks. We leave it off for the moment. Then there's another option where you could add a menu. Again, this is explained in a more advanced tutorial, so I'm not going to go too deep into it at the moment, but basically what you can do is create a custom menu for quick access for your clients. So we're just going to save this setting right now. And as I said, when you click on the big question mark, you can see here loads of different videos on how to do certain things within your tour. So there's some advanced settings on what you could do. So please do go ahead and click on one of them. And then you can see a video come up and it shows you how to do that certain action within your tour. If you ever need to go back to settings, you just click here on settings and you're back in settings. If you're ever lost, so for example, you've done this and you don't know, oh my God, where am I? You just say center screen and it will go back to the first setting of your tour, and you can save your tour here. So basically what you do then is you say, okay, well, the best view for this virtual tour is this one here because the entrance is right there. I'm going to set this as my default view. That means if somebody opens your tour, this is the first thing they're going to see. Now I need to add an arrow, so I drag this hotspot to the screen and I'm going to add an arrow here. As you can see, this is the default arrow that we chose before. We're going to rotate this arrow a little bit because we want to go that way, and you could even make it 3D. This is entirely up to you. Again, there is tutorials that you can use to find out exactly how all this works. And we're going to start, I think, in the living room, and this will be the next shot, and we click go to, and automatically creates a reverse hotspot. That means that if I look now, if I go back, I can see that the reverse hotspot to the garden has been created. It's not exactly in the right place, so we're just going to move that a little bit. Click on the hotspot and make sure that it's straight. There we go. And save. Then we're going to go and do the next one, which is in the living room. Arrow. Which is living room 2, I believe. Yes. Which goes to the dining room. Go to. Again, the reverse hotspot is created, which now should maybe be in the right place, almost. There you go. And going to the next image, which is the dining room. So this is just, this bottom one is how you want the viewer to see what you want them to see when they click on the arrow. So if you leave it like this, they're just going to see the window, which is not very nice, or a wall. So make sure that it looks nice, that when they click on it, the first view looks really good. So go to. The reverse hotspot is in the wrong place here. I'm just going to put that there. And then the last one's going back into the garden. Which is this one. Go to. Now, the other thing that is quite important to say is that there are a lot of different features on how to create this virtual tour. I'm just doing a quick one here, but you can do all these different things with these hotspots, change different ones, make them 3D, you know, there's lots of things that you can do with it. Add some images, you can add text, etc. to your tour. We're not going to go into that right now. Like I said, if you click on the help button, you'll see adding text, adding images, set up a custom menu, how to add a video intro, hide information, generate more leads, all that kind of stuff is advanced settings. Just go into there and look at the tutorial. So once you're done and you've created your tour, we're going to publish the tour, and we're going to go and see the tour. Now here you can see the tour. You see that the thumbnails are there. These are the thumbnails we were talking about earlier. You can hide them or you can have them. That's up to you. The tour is in the right color, and you can see that the arrows are all working properly. So you can go in and look around in your virtual tour, which works perfectly. Now, if you wanted to send this tour as a link to a client, all you have to do is click preview. And this is the link that you're going to send to the client then, the link that shows in the browser bar when you hit preview, because it's full screen and there's nothing else there. You can see that there's information here. If you'd put information, a text and a title on this virtual tour, then the information would show here. Here's your contact form and your menu that we created as well. So that's basically what you have to do to start with. I hope you enjoy working with our program, but as I said, anywhere on the screen, wherever you are, you can see a little chat box here where you can help, you can ask for help, and our support team is happy to give you some assistance. Do let me know what you think of this, and if you have any ideas how we can make it better or what we can do to make your life easier, do always let us know, because we're open for development and we'd love to hear from you. So thank you very much for listening, and have fun using My360.